Now, this guy, I follow him on X, man. If you're a Canes fan, you know exactly who I'm talking about. Sports writer, sports media personality. He's on every single podcast because he brings it. Gio Milian, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. No, Hurricane fans are not too happy about that California game in the start time.
Well, here's the thing. Let's be honest. We're all parents now, or we're all older. But 20 years ago, a 10:30 game was nothing to us because we wouldn't go out to dinner till like 11:30 back in the day.
Yeah, no, you're right. I know some people are upset about it. It's kind of that Pac-12 after dark time slot that Miami's getting. It is a little concerning because Mario Cristobal has had some battles with California's head coach, Justin Wilcox. Mario actually lost to him twice, beat him twice in the Pac 12 when he was with Oregon. So we'll see how that shakes out when it comes about.
Now, Gio, I talk a lot about it on this podcast. You sound already like a person that has a lot of PTSD from Miami. I don't believe in PTSD. I believe in the team we have this year that's going to go to Cal and roll over Cal. But before we get to that game, because Forrest on the show, he has a lot of PTSD too. And every podcast I listen to, everybody look, I don't. This team is so different. That's why I don't have it this year. But where are you on the Miami PTSD?
I would personally say so. I said before the season, many people had asked me, they're like, Gio, what do you think Miami's going to do this year? I had Miami marked down as an 11-win team this year. I just thought between the roster composition, that the offensive line, just in general, they average about 6'5", 6'6", 325 across the board. They have a room full of tight ends, a room full of running backs. One of only two teams in the country to have three receivers on their roster that had over 800 yards last year. And then just that defensive line between returning Reuben Bain, adding Tyler Barron, guys like Simeon Barrow, who's really starting to emerge now. And I can continue tossing names and rambling on, but I just felt Miami had a very well-constructed roster. And I thought their schedule was very favorable. I will be honest, though, how dominant they've looked through 4 weeks, I did not see that coming. I thought they would beat the Gators by 2 touchdowns. I had predicted them to, kind of tight battle heading through the third quarter. They'd pull away in the fourth because of just sheer physicality and size. They've passed the eye test completely. I have no PTSD right now because I don't think Miami's ever had a quarterback like Cam Ward.
Let me tell you something, Gio. Let me cut you off right there. And this is my first question I wanted to ask you because I said it last podcast. Cam Ward is the best quarterback Miami has ever had. And yes. I stand by that statement. What do you say?
I agree 100%. He actually leads the nation right now in passing touchdowns, yardage. He's second. Quarterback rating, second. Miami's passing offense, one of the top 3 in the country right now. Pro Football Focus, if anyone checks out those weekly grades, I always put them out. They love Miami. They have Miami ranked as the second best team in the country right now behind Ole Miss. So Ole Miss looks pretty good on offense. So maybe those two, they'll meet up in the playoffs. We'll see.
Well, here's my thing about Cam Ward. It's on this show. Well, I like to call him slow-mo Cam because everything is so slow to him. It moves so slow. Even when they were on the goal line and he clapped and the team jumped and showed their blitz from the right-hand side, I believe, and he just tapped the running back on his shoulder, placed the dude right on his right, and basically pointed where the rush was coming from and went about his business. I mean, that's the type of level of quarterback you're dealing with right now. And it's fun. I can be honest, I've never seen a quarterback that cool, calm, and collected before the play, during the play, or even while he's in the play.
Yeah, he's Cam Cool right now. Everything just seems very easy for him. That he sees the field very well, has great control of the offense, and then it helps just the amount of weapons that he has. Miami has guys across the board on this roster that are going to be playing on Sundays next year. They'll probably have 10 draft picks off this team alone because they're that deep this year. Mario did a great job just constructing the roster through the high school level, landing a top 10 class, following that up with a top 5 class. The transfer portal, just tons of guys that have actual production, not like what Florida State did, going after guys that were basically the rejects of Alabama, LSU, and it may be harsh me calling them rejects, but those guys were they had no production at their prior schools. Mario had a plan set in place to add guys that brought value, had experience, leadership, and real production. And this is what you see now with Miami this year. And one last note I'll even add on to that, just about high school and freshmen and whatnot. Miami is now in this great situation that if you're a true freshman and you're playing real significant snaps, it's not out of necessity anymore. You've got to be a dude to play as a true freshman at Miami now, just like Alabama, just like Georgia, any top tier program around the country, just like that.
You know what I love is, I mean, just OJ Frederick. I mean, look at it. A true freshman is out there and not just out there playing zone, where this is your area. This dude is man to man, bump and run. And I mean, that's just amazing that this dude was a 3-star. They saw the talent in him. Of course, I was listening to Gidry, and he was like, of course, you don't know they're going to turn into that, but we saw some potential. But for this freshman to go out there and do that, it's absolutely amazing, man.
And the greatest thing about it, there was a ton of Miami fans that actually bashed the kid when he committed to Miami because he was a 3-star recruit. I've been hammering away on the X Spaces, on podcasts for a long time now. Yes, the blue chip recruits it's all great, is the glitz and glamour, the top 5 class this, top 10 class that, but you have to be able to evaluate the guys that kind of fall through the cracks. He came from Deerfield High Schools, went over to St. Thomas Aquinas. They had a bunch of stars there and whatnot, always uber athletic and talented. But Coach Gidry even mentioned a week ago saying that when they were recruiting him, he was telling some of his assistant coaches, he said, that guy right there, he's the guy. And that boils down to just evaluation. And this coaching staff is really big on that even active evaluation, because they have guys in the recruiting class right now, but they're watching senior tape of kids around the country trying to see, all right, maybe we missed on this guy or maybe we missed this guy. So they're completely on top of it. And just him specifically is that exact example of the difference from the past regimes till now. There's real evaluation and real development going on in that program right now. Even Isaiah Horton. Isaiah Horton is a guy who stuck it out 3 years. Not many people expected much from him coming into Miami out of the Tennessee area, but he's really blossomed now.
By the way, I couldn't remember, so I just looked it up. Ed Reed was a 2-star recruit, just so you know. And that back then, and when we had those teams that were just loaded, we had the 4 and 5-star recruits, and they were on the team. But that's why we were so good back then, because they had other people just digging out those gems. Where like, yeah, nobody wants this guy. I mean, I'm future Hall of Famer. Arguably the best safety in the history of NFL. I mean,
just look at your quarterback, no star, or maybe a 1-star out of high school, yeah. Cam Ward, and then you got Mish Powell that was a walk-on, I believe. So I mean, basically, these players that are striving have come with no recognition, no fanfare, and let's be honest. And this is something you won't hear on other podcasts, but let's be honest. Some Miami fans, and I'll put it at probably like 45-50% of Miami, they're horrible. Horrible fans. Absolutely. You are garbage. You are absolute. Yes. And if you are that, yes, I'm talking to you.
Please subscribe.
A lot of Miami fans are absolute garbage. I see the board. You're talking crap about Sam Brown. You're talking crap about even Akeem Messidor. What happened to him? What? Shut up. Just shut up. Just shut up. You're the same person. And I read these books. Y'all the same people that 2 years ago asking why X was playing, Brashard Smith should be playing over him because X isn't a game breaker. Yes, I'm talking to you, Miami fans. Yes, just like you're talking about Damian Martinez. The longer you go on the season, you're going to appreciate him because he's going to be able to run over teams. Teams are going to get worn out at the end of the year. Damian Martinez, they're saving him. They're saving him. They know what's coming. They know the playoffs are coming. So let me tell you, about 45 to 50%. And hopefully, if you're that, I don't want you even listening to this, but just go because this is not the place for you. Look, we are diehard Kane fans, and yes, we have a strong opinion. We have it, but talking about Sam Brown, Damian Martinez. Yes. And if you listen to this show, you know AJ Allen is my dude. I think he's underrated. And now the other podcast is saying, oh, what about AJ Allen? Look, AJ Allen's always been that dude. But my thing is don't attack these players. And you haven't even seen them finish out the season yet.
Wait a minute. Are you guys telling me that the same people that I met in Miami at the tailgate, the same tattooed, beer drinking, meat grilling guys with the loudest goddamn music I've ever heard in my entire life. You mean to tell me those guys are opinionated, that they have feelings and they want to share? Are we talking about the same fans who made us do shots at 11 a.m.? Is that the same fans? Is it?
Some of them are. There's a lot of Kane fans that are not on social media. Some are, and they go to the games and whatnot. I've seen the casual Kane fans as well that they don't even know a single player's name on the team. That they just say, "Oh yeah, we have ourselves a quarterback."
Yeah, no. Let me ask you this, Gio. Akeem Messidor. Let's talk about why is he playing tackle? Because I do think a legitimate question is, of course, he thrived playing defensive end. You know, I mean, he was a game changer 2 years ago. Ruben Bain's not playing right now. Why do you think they moved him to defensive tackle? Or is this a thing where they kind of convinced him that, hey, in the draft, if you can play, everybody knows you can play in, but if you can excel at this too, that kind of breaks you through. What is the reason? Or I've heard possibly he's not fully 100% yet, and this kind of limits his movement. What says you?
Yeah, so Coach Guidry said right before, no, it was actually about right after the UF game, saying that Messidor was getting close to 100%, had an issue with his foot that he had to get special cleats and whatnot. Yep. Reason why he missed most of last season, and it was lingering from the year before. It ended that 2022 campaign that he was really great right near the end of the season. But a lot of it boils down to just getting your best players on the field. So, for example, a guy like Akeem Messidor could play inside and outside on that line. Ruben Bain can as well. So you'll see some NASCAR packages when Ruben is back this week. You throw in Ruben Bain in there, Akeem Messidor, and you toss in Elijah Alston and Tyler Barron on the edges, and you just say, all right, let's meet at the quarterback. But, yeah, mostly it boils down to that, though, just getting your best players on the field. And the other thing with it, too, if they kept him strictly at defensive end, you kind of have this situation that's created where, all right, how are we going to get him on the field and then Bain on the field and then Alston and then Barron? It kind of evens it out. And again, like I said, gets your best players on the field. But I think he's been playing phenomenal. He's been getting better every week. He's getting comfortable again. And that's really what it boils down to. A lot of fans forget this. I've been around football. My brothers play football. I've known guys that have gone off to the NFL from Little League till now. The biggest thing with football, and when it comes to injuries, it's about building that confidence back. Sometimes when you have a serious injury, you're not trusting that knee, trusting that ankle, turning on it, cutting on it, just any which way or word you want to put towards that. It's basically that.
All right, let's move forward to Virginia Tech this weekend. What's a couple keys to victory for you?
Stopping that pass rush. Antoine Powell-Ryland, I think I might have butchered his last name, but got to check again. The Virginia Tech defensive end is very, very good. Don't think their entire defensive line is on the same caliber as Miami, but Miami's offensive line, I think they should do a pretty good job in terms of handling that pass rush. You get Jalen Rivers back this week. Again, Francis Mauigoa has taken another step this year as a second-year player. The other things I see is they have some receivers that can actually get downfield and make plays. Miami's cornerbacks will be tested a little bit in this game. Also, you got to be disciplined and contain on defense. Kyron Drones, very, very, very athletic quarterback. Actually, what was one of his strengths a season ago, being a quarterback getting outside the pocket and delivering throws downfield, it's actually been one of his weaknesses this year for Virginia Tech, which has been kind of surprising. But funny fact I'll mention here as well, he's also the cousin of Cam Ward.
I heard that.
Yes, him, Shador Sanders, and Cam Ward all have the same quarterbacks coach and everything. So they all spent a ton of time together during the offseason.
Yeah, I've
And
seen
then
that video that was going around with
yeah.
when they're all sitting, with the Shador and him, yeah.
And my last key is run defense. Miami's had one of the best run defenses in the entire country this season, outside of a 71-yard run against Florida. That was pretty much a fluke.
Yep.
Basil Tootin for Virginia Tech. He's a really, really good running back. If you're a Kane fan and you're listening to this, don't sleep on him.
All right. Final score, Gio. What do you think?
All right. So the spread is about 17.5 the last time I checked.
It's 19 now.
Oh, it's 19. Okay.
Yeah.
19.
All right. I'm sticking with the trend that Miami gets over 40 again. So I'm going to put down Miami 41, Virginia Tech 14.
Oh, and one last 41. What was it? 41 what?
14.
41 okay, we'll get to our predictions later in the podcast after Kelsey. But do you think they do the blackout uniforms or the throwback? I saw some tweets about maybe possibly a throwback, which I thought was really cool.
That would be awesome if they do a throwback. I've been hearing for quite some time, though, that Virginia Tech would be a very likely blackout game. We'll see. They always like to keep it under wraps and whatnot, but that's what I heard during the offseason. So we'll see what they come out in.
All right, Gio, how can people find you, man?
You can find me on X at GioMillion or on Instagram at gio.million. Also, I am no longer working with companies anymore. I've gone completely independent in 2024.
What's up, baby?
It's very liberating, very free. Love it. There's nothing like your freedom and being able to pretty much say what you want and not have to be filtered and whatnot when you work with the big corporations. So it's a great time.
Well, man, that's why we started this podcast. I've been wanting to do it forever and finally found the right crew. And it's great that I'm not like, maybe you're a little bit different, but what I love about our podcast is I'm not trying to get on the field. I'm not trying to be in press conferences. I'm not trying to interview players. I'll interview past players. Like we got DJ Williams, Amon Richards coming up and all these people. I want to get Vanilla Ice on because he used to wear Miami Hurricanes back in the day. That'd be a great interview. But what's great about not being attached to trying to get access is it limits a lot that you could say. So this podcast, we can say anything. We can speak like the fans want to hear because we're not trying to gain access. And that's a big thing when you're on your own. I'm sure you're a different level because you still want to get in press conferences and stuff that.
Oh, yeah. Of course. I've covered things with the Heat and the Dolphins.
Yeah, of course.
Games, but yeah, there's a certain line that I have to toe, but definitely a lot more favorable now because when you work with a corporation, it's kind of like, oh, no, we don't want you to say this or we don't want you to say that. And you kind of have your hands tied behind your back, but yeah.
Well, Gio, we're big fans of yours over here, man. Whenever you want to pop on, if you have some stuff you want to break on the show, hey, we're your platform. We're always here for you, bro, and I appreciate you.
Definitely. Thank you, guys.